Hey guys, this is Communications, and welcome to my review of Basket Case 3, The Progeny. It's time to get a bigger basket, or time to build a bigger basket, or whatever. Anyway, um, I went into this with very low expectations, considering this is considered one of Henenlotter's, if not Henenlotter's, worst film. It's the lowest rated film in his um, overall, so to speak, and very low expectations. And I've heard it's the worst in the Basket Case trilogy, and I came out very pleasantly surprised by the film. I found it to be really enjoyable, a lot of fun, entertaining. I thought it was a big step up from Basket Case 2. I thought the tone really was well balanced throughout. It was not like Basket Case 2, which I felt that it was trying to be serious horror, but then trying to be comedy. This just straight up went into silly, over the top comedy route. It's almost like it's like a gory episode of Ren and Stimpy. It's that over the top and that crazy. And I guess this is definitely not a film for everybody, but if you like Frankenhooker, I wouldn't be surprised if you end up, liking Basket Case 3. It's definitely a lot like Frankenhooker in the sort of vibe that it has. Frankenhooker isn't what I'd really call a true horror film. It's not really that scary. It's weird, it's surreal, it's messed up, but I wouldn't really call it scary. Basket Case 3 is another example. But Basket Case 3, I guess Henenlotter had to cut out about 11 pages from this script because the producers thought it was too gory, so they cut that stuff out. It's too gory. But the final film itself actually does have a good amount of gore in it, which is a big step up from Basket Case 2, where a lot of it was just, it was understated or you didn't see much. Here, there's a really rousing, fun scene in a police station where Belial gets, some sweet revenge and like bites this dude's lip off and rips his head off, and then turns this guy's head up 360 degrees around, and a lot of fun with that sequence. Um, Overall, I had a lot of fun with the movie. Basket Case 3 came out in 1991. Basket Case 3: The Progeny, direct to video, didn't really, of course, the second one didn't come out in theaters either. At least I don't think it did. Anyway, the movie, Frank Henenlotter came back to direct, and he also helped with the screenplay, which he was also helped with the screenplay by Robert Martin. Kevin Van Hentenryck comes back as Dwayne, and he's he's pretty much he's not really a supporting character, but as soon as he gets arrested, he's just, the movie then focuses more on Granny Ruth and the freaks and Belial. Annie Ross comes back as Granny Ruth, and I really enjoyed her in this time around in Basket Case 3. You could tell she had a lot of fun with her performance. I didn't mind her in Basket Case 2 either, but there's something about her performance in this one I enjoyed a little bit more. Gil Roper plays the sheriff in this film, and I thought he did a really good job. Um, you have Dan Biggers plays Uncle Hal. The little bit that he had, I didn't mind him. Jim O'Doherty, I really liked as Little Hal, who is the son of Annie Ross, Ross's character, Granny Ruth, and he's also a freak. Really good effects, makeup effects by Gabe Bartaros and company. And I like that guy. I like the guy's sense of humor. And especially like the scene where he's helping deliver Eve's babies, the Belial babies, the progeny. I especially really love the scene where little Hal is recording, the baby's delivery, and he's just talking about, oh, it's five more, why not? It's just like always, like in terms of like 12 babies, and then like every time get born, and then every time he says like, tries to rhyme, what happens, and oh, four more, that's a score, what a score, and then like as soon as he gets to the point where he can't rhyme anymore, it's like, why not? And then I also like the fact the random stuff that he says while he's, filming with this video camera, filming the birth. It's like, hey, put that cat down. Or hey, can somebody get me some gin? I really like that guy. And he's also a really cool inventor. And he's one of the cooler freaks, I think. You know, he's really cool because he invents things, and he invents this really awesome uh, uh, sort of robot suit for Belial to use in the end, which I thought was really ingenious and really cool. That was a practical effect too, and I actually think it looked pretty cool for the fairly low budget the film had. I'm pretty sure it didn't have that big of a budget. Um, but I enjoyed Robo Belial. I really did enjoy those scenes, especially near the end when you got to see the machine in action. Um, Yeah, and they also had Beverly Bonner, who was in Basket Case 2 as her, you know, reprising her role from the first movie. She comes back as a fast food, fast food clerk in this. She's a fast food service, customer service person, trying to take this ridiculously large order from Granny Ruth when the freaks come in and want to get some food. So that was nice to see her in a cameo. And the guys that played the really asshole the sheriff's deputies did a really good job. Jackson Fall played Bailey, and Jim Grimshaw played Baxter. Jackson Fall's character is like a complete fucking. This guy is a complete wimp. He's like really, really, complete fucking wimp. And then he looks like, and he's a big fan of Elvis, because there's a scene where he actually starts singing in the mirror before, when he wakes up in the morning, and he starts singing, acting like he's Elvis. And but yeah, the movie's definitely definitely a B movie. It's definitely not necessarily what you would call a serious horror movie. So that you have to keep that in mind when you check out Basket Case 3: The Progeny. Basket Case 3 is definitely a lot more tongue-in-cheek than the second movie or even the first movie. It's honestly the most humorous of the three. And that added to the enjoyment of the movie. I had a lot of fun with the film. The scene where Granny Ruth and their, the base of the whole plot of the movie is it starts out with a flashback, so it shows you scenes from the second movie where you had um, Dwayne accidentally kills Susan. You have the whole sort of thing where he sews Belial to his side, and then you cut to Dwayne being in a straitjacket in what looks like an insane asylum, but it's actually a padded cell, but it's actually just a padded cell in Granny Ruth's basement. And she eventually lets him out after a few months because Eve is pregnant and she's about ready to give birth. And so she decides she's going to take Dwayne along with her. And of course, Belial and the whole rest of the band of Granny Ruth's freaks in a school bus, which I like the thing on the words that are on the top of the school bus are like not anyone you know. No one you know. I like that. There's no one you know on this bus. And then so they go on a road trip because they're gonna go to um this small town at this because they're gonna meet up with this Granny Ruth's gonna meet with a friend of hers named Hal, who who's also her ex-husband, and he's also a doctor, and she's like he's the only one she can think of that can help um, Eve give birth, so because she's not gonna take her to a normal doctor, and so it's a road trip to this small town, which I'm trying to remember the exact name of this town. Um, Somewhere in the deep south. I don't even know if there is even there's probably a name for the town, but I don't remember it. But anyway, so they go to this small town in the south, and then she ends up meeting up with Hal, and brings her a bunch of freaks with her, and Hal was really excited to see her and her freaks, because he's really nice to them and friends with them and so forth, and he also he adopted her son, little Hal, who is all grown up now, and he creates these really, ingenious, cool inventions. And earlier in the film, he got introduced to little Hal by the sheriff went and visited him, visited Hal, and he was talking about Little Hal, and he was talking about how if anybody gives Little Hal any more crap, like, I'll take care of it personally. Which is kind of that's one of the problems I have with the film, is that the sheriff doesn't really seem like really that bad of a guy, and he seems like he cared for the freaks, or at least some of them, at least Little Hal. And then when he finally sees Little Hal again, he's all grown up. He freaks out, and then he just acts like all these freaks need to die, or something needs to be done with these freaks. Or maybe I'm looking too far into it. Maybe he just wanted to get Belial in the end because Belial killed most of his um, fellow police officers. But you know, that's just a little nitpick. Um, so then you had the delivery scene, which is pretty great. But before actually that, they were on the road trip, which I didn't mind that. I like the whole idea that, like, for the first 20 or so minutes or so of the movie, Dwayne is still in the straitjacket. And I like the line that Granny Ruth has while he's on the bus, and he's like, "Dwayne, stop fidgeting." And you're like, "He can't fidget. What is it? He's still tied up in the straitjacket." And then I like this random line of dialogue that Granny Ruth says, and I'm just like, she starts checking up on all the freaks, and she says this line of dialogue that I just thought was, like, so absurd. I thought it was pretty funny. She's like, "Oh, Cedric, I see you brought your lettuce." Lettuce? What? And so and I also really like the song where she starts singing "Personality" to the rest of the group on the bus while they're bored, and so they decide the radio doesn't have any good stations on, so she starts singing "Personality," and I thought it was a pretty fun song, and I had a lot of fun with that. It very added a really fun vibe to the movie, and then they arrive at Hal's. They, meet up and, touch base. Then you get the delivery scene, which is the most weird and strange baby delivery scene you'll ever see in a movie. Period. And that's the stuff where you have a Little Hal with his fun little lines of dialogue while the babies are being born. And Hal, though, gets attacked by Belial because he sees that, he's dressed up in doctor gown, and Belial hates doctors. And if you've seen the first movie, in the second movie, you know why Belial hates doctors. He doesn't kill him, though. He just really messes up his face. Uh, so Belial ends up getting chained in his basket for that. And Eve has all these babies, and then eventually what happens is the Dwayne ends up escaping because Granny Ruth let him out of his straitjacket, and he said he wouldn't leave, but of course he left because he didn't want to, really he doesn't want to be. I guess he wants to get away from them or something. I mean, Dwayne's definitely an interesting character. Um, and he pretty much he wants his brother back. He wants to be back together with his brother, and so he comes with this idea that maybe he can get arrested, and then maybe then his brother will have to be arrested along with him, so then they can be together again. So he meets up with the sheriff's daughter, played by Opal. No, the character's name is Opal, or the actress's name is Tina Louise Hilbert, and so he saw her earlier in the town, um, and there's a fun scene earlier where Granny Ruth stopped at a drugstore and she went in and got some condoms. It is like, "Do you have any extra large?" It's like, ah, condoms for Belial. But anyway, and then Belial has this dream later in the film, like after he got locked up, chained up for attacking a doctor. He has this dream where he's getting caressed by these two naked, like, Playboy Playmate type models. And they're saying all these, like, they're saying all these, like, just random fucking things. It was very surreal, and I thought it was pretty damn funny, to be honest. Saying, like, it seems like they're reading off ingredients for something, or reading off some, random bits and pieces of some news story, or statistics or something, or a formula, scientific formulas. It was just, And they're saying it all sexily in Belial's ear. And I thought it was pretty funny. They're naked women. He's laying on this bed, and Belial's getting caressed by these naked chicks. And that actually comes into play in a fun scene after the end credits of the movie, actually. I'll get to that soon enough. But anyway, so Dwayne ends up getting himself arrested because he contacts Opal and says that, she finds out that he's the Dwayne, that, he is the Dwayne Bradley, the one with one of the freak twins. And so the sheriff deputies, played by Baxter, their characters' names are Baxter and Bailey, not so Jackson Fall and Jim Grimshaw. I did it again, damn it. So Jackson Foley, not Jackson Foley. I keep fucking up. Jackson Fall and Jim Grimshaw, Baxter and Bailey, they go in and they decide we're going to try to get the Bradley freaks. We're going to try to find Belial so we can get $1 million from the National Enquirer type deal that was from the second movie. So they go in and they go to the house, and this is the freaks are all having this big fun party because they're celebrating Eve's the birth of new Belial babies. And I like how Granny Ruth is like, they're having this big party, and Granny Ruth comes downstairs, she's talking to the freaks, and she's like, would you just be quiet? There's people trying to sleep, Eve's trying to sleep, she's had a very hard ordeal, and Hal's trying to recover. I mean, could you just be quiet? And then she leaves, and then they start partying again. That was pretty funny. And then, so these two asshole deputy guys come sneak into Eve's bedroom, and they think Belial is in there. And so what happens is they find the Belial babies, and in a fit of fear, one of the cops, the deputies, Baxter, ends up shooting what he thinks is Belial, but it's actually Eve. So one of the deputies shoots and kills Eve. The freaks are understandably mournful about this. Belial is pissed because his woman just got murdered, and so the rest of the film is pretty much revenge, sort of revenge thing again, where it's Belial and the freaks help Belial get his revenge. They put him in a basket, set it outside the sheriff's sheriff office, and also while this is going on, you find out Opal is dominatrix. She wants to whip Kevin Van Hentenryck into shape, and she even has these weird tattoos on her arms that like she's into like banging guys in prisons for some reason. She has a prison fetish. She has a jail fetish, and so that she gets interrupted though because her father shows back up and he's like, "What are you doing? Put some clothes on, girl." and and she's like, "But Daddy, he's a freak." And his brother's a monster. It's like, put some clothes on. You're grounded. You're grounded for 10 years. You're grounded for 10 years. And then, no, I'm not getting that pony. You're not getting that pony. And if it was up to me, I'd put you on the end of, I'll put you on top of my knee and I'd spank you right now. So I had fun with that. And what happens is she gets sent home. Of course, that was earlier. Because then she comes back and she takes one of the Belial babies and starts like acting like she's gonna, keep it as a pet to antagonize Dwayne. And Dwayne's like, "Hey, put that down! Put that down! That's my nephew! It's not a pet. That's my nephew!" And then the freaks, end up getting their revenge, through Belial by putting Belial's basket outside the sheriff's office. This dumbass guy picks up the basket, brings it back in the sheriff's office, and then all hell breaks loose. Belial, the guy who opens the basket, gets strangled by Belial so hard that his eyes pop out of his head. In a pretty fun choking, over the top gore scene. This other black police officer guy, he gets, a death like Belial like grabs him. He's trying to go for a gun, and Belial ends up like literally sucking his face off pretty much, and then ripping his head off his shoulders. Then this other guy is so freaked out, he's shaking all over the place. He's praying to God while he's trying to put his shotgun in. The shotgun shells, in his shotgun. And earlier he was the one that was talking to the police precinct, talking to the guys at the precinct like, we gotta do something! These freaks, they might be out here in the shadows trying to take us down. And this, over the weight police officer is like, come on, they're not gonna do anything. Have some donuts. He's like, they have sharp teeth. They can chew through the fence. And it's like, chew through metal. It's like, they can chew through you. Chew through human body. They can chew through us. And then I love the overweight guys. Oh yeah, well, it's gonna have a lot to chew on. And then I like the whole thing where the sheriff just starts acting, not the sheriff, one of the deputy guys, the guy's freaking out, starts acting like a fucking spoiled child, like having a temper tantrum, where the guy's like, no, don't worry about it. Yes, we do! Yes, we should! And, it's just like, it was pretty surreal. Like, he was just acting like a little kid. He's like, I can't remember the exact line, but it was pretty funny, because he was just all, like, just acting over the top and stupid. It's definitely what I would call, well, a lot of Frank Henenlotter movies are what some people might call dumb, but I don't call them dumb. I think they're a lot of fun. And, I'm glad he didn't take this seriously, so to speak. And, he's like, yes, we should. It's like something like that. And, so he was right, because Belial does show up and ends up fucking everybody up in the police station. And Opal shows up. It's like, oh my god, ah! And she actually freaks out and drops the baby, and it ends up dying. And Dwayne she lets out Dwayne because she wants him to see if he can stop Belial from killing everybody. But of course, what happens is the sheriff, the deputy guy who freaks out, and he ends up shooting. One of the deputy guys ends up shooting Opal while he's being attacked by Belial. And so Dwayne ends up grabbing Belial, puts him in the basket. He was thinking about trying to get the babies out, but he didn't have time because the sheriff showed up and shot at him. He shot the basket, and he actually wounded Belial, shot him in the arm, in the hand, and then Dwayne takes up Belial in the basket and runs away. And he has this plan: we're gonna run away, we're gonna change our identity, we're gonna go back, to the uptown, to New York, we'll go back upstate. And he's like, Belial, Belial. And then he finds out, no, don't be hurt. Not when they were finally together again. And so he's trying to think of, well, I can't take him to a doctor. He hates doctors. So he decides, oh, Little Hal. So he goes in and finds where Little Hal is hiding out at this abandoned factory. And Belial gets fixed up. And Kevin Van Hentenryck, Dwayne helps Little Hal build this exoskeleton for Belial. Like, what would happen if Belial became crippled and he couldn't be able to walk anymore? So he was able to he created this exoskeleton for Belial. And you can't help but feel when you see scenes like with Belial and the exoskeleton that it looks like Krang. Like, literally, he already kind of looks like Krang enough as it is. So now he's in this big robot body and he's walking around. It's very, very reminiscent of Krang from the 80s Ninja Turtles cartoon. And anyway, so he starts getting, his revenge on the deputies that killed Eve. And the first guy, you don't really see much. He just thinks his wife came home and he was going to get some love, and it was really Belial, really one of the arms of the machine that's under the covers that, messes him up. You just hear her screams because I guess it was cut out for, Shapiro Glickenhaus Entertainment for some reason wanted to cut down the gore. That probably was one of the pages of the script that was cut down for gore. And then you had the whole thing where he ends up meeting the other deputy guy, the guy who loves Elvis, the dumbass, Bailey. And I really like that. I enjoy this where he goes in and Belial ends up. See, you don't actually see a lot with this scene either, but it's the way that it's handled I really enjoy because I think it's pretty funny. So Belial ends up, just sawing through the door he couldn't even finish his routine, his Elvis routine, And it's the violin just sawing through the door, and then it cuts to a scene where Dwayne is in the guy's kitchen, and he's like taking out a box of cornflakes and putting them in a bowl, pouring some milk in, and just calmly eating cereal while in the background Belial in his exoskeleton is fucking murdering this guy. Nice bit of black humor, it really was. And so after that, he gets his revenge and so forth. Then the freaks end up having a funeral for Eve, and Granny Ruth decides that we're not going to be hiding. We're not going to go into hiding anymore. You know, this is our world too. And so she ends up. They were gonna head out. They end up heading to the sheriff's office to get the babies back, but the sheriff says no. I'll only give you them back if you give me a trade. I want Belial. She just tells the sheriff to meet with Belial at this abandoned um, foundry. You know where little Hal is, and you know where the machine is, and so forth. The exoskeleton. And so he agrees. They agree upon it, and then afterwards, Granny Ruth takes all the rest of the freaks to a fast food restaurant. And that was pretty enjoyable. It was pretty fun. And then you get that cameo by Beverly Bonner. And then afterwards, then it's pretty much the climax of the film. The sheriff meets up with Belial at the foundry. Belial and the sheriff get a little bit of a battle. It's pretty one-sided because Belial is in the machine, and he's like, the guy tries to shoot at him. He knocks the shotgun out of his hands, takes out his gun. He knocks his gun out of his hands. And he picks up this pipe and starts hitting Belial with it. And ultimately Belial ends up throwing him off, knocking him around, you know, like he's nothing. But ultimately, the sheriff ends up grabbing Belial, the exoskeleton in the leg and pulls it down. And also, like this really earlier, obviously, he tried to shoot the shotgun at Belial, and there's this lever you can press, which pulls down this like shield that it's like made out of steel that bounces bullets off of it. So that was pretty cool. And then, but he actually finds a way to knock Belial down, and now Belial's in a very very vulnerable position, and the sheriff picks up this saw, is about to saw Belial. Belial then is able to use the arm though and knocks the sheriff into the baby carriage, the full of babies, the Belial babies, and they eat his ass alive. You know, they're like eating him all over the place, hung on his face and on his neck and so forth. And I think Dwayne has this fun line. I was like, wow, this is going to be one hell of a family. And then, this would be quite the family. And then the movie pretty much ends with there's this parody of Geraldo, and they're having this whole thing like this whole sort of thing on the TV like freaks and the women who love them, and then the wall of the background of the set gets knocked down, and Granny Ruth and a bunch of freaks come in, and Dwayne ends up opening the basket, and Belial attacks the Geraldo wannabe guy. And then Granny Ruth gives this message that we're not going to be scared anymore. You know, this is our world now, and talking about the freaks. And if you don't like it, if you see us walking down the streets, and you don't like it, you know, buzz off or something like, they don't like it, deal with it type sort of. I don't remember like the line of dialogue. And then she says, "Have a nice day," and then she smiles, and then you have the song at the end where she sang on the bus the song Personality. But anyway, that's Basket Case 3, The Progeny. I really enjoyed this one. I had a lot of fun with it. It was a fast pace. I thought the tone was a lot more, like I said, balanced throughout. There's really not a lot of problems I had with it. I really enjoyed the movie, to be honest. I think it's one of his, Henenlotter's one of his most underrated films. Basket Case 2, I thought was just not great. Wasn't anything super terrible. It was just there. I found this to be a lot more entertaining. I found it to do a lot more with its premise. I found it, to expand the story a little bit more. It was something unique. I thought the freaks worked really well in this film versus the second movie where the tone wasn't really I don't think the way the freaks looked, it didn't really work for the tone that the film was trying to go for. I thought because it was a lot less comedic and it was a little bit more serious. And but yeah, I really enjoyed Basket Case 3: The Progeny. And if you're a big fan of if you like the first movie, if you even like the second movie, you're probably, or even found the second movie okay, like I did, you'll probably enjoy Basket Case 3. But I think it's underrated. A 4.3 out of 10 is way too low on IMDb. It's considered Henenlotter's worst. I'm sorry. I'd probably say my least favorite would be Basket Case 2. Um, but I haven't seen Bad Biology yet, so we'll see what happens. But I was pleasantly surprised by this one. I enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun with the inventions. It was really cool to see that bit of ingenuity. Belial got to do a little bit more, a little bit more, gory scenes than, he didn't really do that much in the second movie. He was a little more stylistic. And, yeah, hell of a birth scene, hell of a progeny, and a really enjoyable, fun movie. Fun sequel. So I really don't want to say about Basket Case 3: The Progeny because we're rated out of 5 stars. Um, I really enjoyed it, so I'd probably give it. I'm gonna give 4.5. Actually, I didn't find that much wrong with it. There's only a couple jokes that I didn't really care for. The sheriff's motivations, like, were kind of off and on. But other than that, I really enjoyed the film for what it was, and I really don't know what to say about Basket Case 3, except, and of course the ending too. I wish the film, since it is the last film in the Basket Case trilogy, I wish Dwayne had the final word, not Granny Ruth. But that's a little nitpick. But that's why I give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. But anyway, thanks for watching my review of Basket Case 3: The Progeny, and I will see you guys later. See ya.